Hi, so it's a new day, and I'm thinking that I'm gonna do a reading vlog for this book that I've been thinking about reading for so long. After reading Crime and Punishment, I gave it a 4 out of 5, but honestly, it stuck with me. Yeah, it was long and it was a slog, but I actually think it was really worth it, and I really want to give it a reread. But I'm not gonna go reread it because I just read it for like 6 months last year, and I do need the break. So I figured instead I'm just gonna dive into more Dostoevsky because I am now so intrigued. I feel like maybe Crime and Punishment could become one of my favorite books of all time. If I go dive into Dostoevsky's other works and get more used to him, and then I go read Crime and Punishment, I'm really excited to see if like becomes a new favorite of mine. I have been recommended to read like White Nights or Notes from the Underground by him because they're shorter books, but you get used to his writing style and used to his themes. So I have Notes from the Underground here, which I've owned for quite a long time. It's only like 150 pages. And it's about this dude that just completely rejects societal norms and what he is expected to do and just like goes and lives in the underground. Apparently he's a really annoying protagonist. Raskolnikov was also quite annoying. But apparently this guy's more annoying. He's also an unnamed protagonist, so I'm just going to be calling him the protagonist, I guess, in this video. But yeah, apparently he's very egotistical, very self-conscious, very negative. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I don't relate to him too much. And we've just entered autumn here in Australia, so it's nice and warm inside because the heat is on now. It's reading time, you know? It's reading season. I love autumn. It's my favorite season of the year. I would love to do a read of the first line, because when people do that in other videos, like I'm so intrigued. I'm like, I want to hear a bit of the book. So I'm going to read the start of chapter 1 to you. So number 1, the underground. I am a sick man. I am an angry man. I am an unattractive man. I think there is something wrong with my liver, but I don't understand the least thing about my illness, and I don't know for certain what part of me is affected. I'm not having any treatment for it, and never have had, although I have a great respect for medicine and for doctors. I'm besides extremely superstitious, if only in having such respect for medicine. I'm well educated enough, but not for superstitious, but superstitious I am. No, I refuse treatment out of spite. That is something you will probably not understand. Well, I understand it. I can't of course explain who my spite is directed against in this matter. I know perfectly well that I can't score off the doctors in any way by not consulting them. I know better than anybody that I am harming nobody but myself. All the same, if I don't have treatment, it is out of spite. Is my liver out of order? Let it get worse. It reminds me a lot already of Crime and Punishment, like the long paragraphs, just sort of like stream of consciousness style, where you're diving into like the back and forth that can go on within the protagonist's brain. It's what I love because I just feel like I'm getting to know the protagonist so well, just like I did with Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. And I think I want that in books more. Like after reading Crime and Punishment, I'm just like seeking that now. I'm like, I just want to know the inner psyche of the main character. It was published in 1864 and I'm relating to it nearly 2 centuries, yeah. And then Crime and Punishment was written in 1866. In regards to books, including novellas, this is the book that he wrote before Crime and Punishment. So they should be quite similar. I should feel that, hopefully. I'm going to do a prediction of what I'm going to rate this, and I think I'm probably going to rate it a 4. And that's not because it's going to be as good as Crime and Punishment, it's just going to make me realize Crime and Punishment should have been a 5. But yeah, this is giving me a bit more perspective, hopefully, on Dostoevsky and how much I love him. This book is reading more like philosophy to me than anything else. I feel like I'm just reading a philosophy book. That is not to say it's a bad thing. I I want to actually read more philosophy, so it's funny that I'm reading this book, because I think I'll just count it towards my philosophy shelf on Goodreads at this point. I've read 30 pages of 152. It took me about 40 minutes to read 30 pages. If that gives you any indication of how it sort of reads. I definitely am taking a little bit more time with each page than I usually would with a book. It is a classic, but on top of that, it's reading like philosophy, like I said. It was starting off a little slow for me. It was starting off a little difficult to get into, but by about chapter 5 or 6, it became quite frictionless. By the last couple of chapters, I was reading a bit ahead of where I planned to get up to today, because I was like, I just can't stop reading. It's so interesting. I like this guy so far. I like the protagonist, Mr. Anonymous, Mr. Unnamed. But at this point, he's really not talking as much about himself as he's talking about greater society, what is virtue, and also what is the human will, I guess, the human independence. Is that good for us? Should we lead with that? Because humans make no sense, and he sort of touches on that a lot. He calls them stupid, but yeah, sometimes they make no sense. They're illogical, I would say. Yeah, this guy is funny though. He's definitely got a bit of a personality. It is showing through. Yeah, I hope I actually enter a bit more of like understanding about him and his experience and why he goes to the underground and stuff like that. I'm hoping that jumps in later. At this point, we're just getting an introduction to this guy's philosophy, which is also cool. I don't mind it. He talks about being plagued by thoughts and plagued by worries and concerns, and how those people can look like they're standing still and not doing anything, but really those people are the ones that are thinking the most. I also think that's an interesting question to ask, because I've definitely been in both shoes. I've spent a lot of time in my life just doing a lot of things, but not thinking as much about what I'm doing. And then lately, I would say I've definitely stopped at a standstill the last couple of years of my life, and I've really just spent a lot of time thinking, but not doing as much. All spontaneous people, men of action, are active because they are stupid and limited. I sort of understand that. I just feel like I was more actioned when I was younger. I definitely feel like I led more with action. And I think that was partially due to my naivety. Up until about page 17. So yeah, chapter 5, I didn't really highlight anything. I wasn't feeling it yet. And then since then, I've just been like underlining a bunch of stuff. It's really picked up for me. So that's great. I'm excited to keep going here and to hopefully underline a lot more and discuss a lot more. But yeah, page 30 out of 152 right now. I'm going to continue on with this book and see how we go. I'm enjoying it a lot so far. I've been doing a lot of other things yesterday. Busy. How do people do this angle? I just feel like it's so awkward. I don't know how to hold this. I just feel weird. Anyway, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it and see how it goes. This is so high. Hi. Oh! I just realized I'm wearing a shirt that shows the high school I went to. I'm just going to do the update from here. So, hi everyone. I'm doing a little quick update because I hit page 50. I am now in the second half of the book. I now realize the book is split into two different sections. I had no idea. So there was like the underground section, which I think is like the current time that this book's meant to be written, if that makes sense. And now we're flipping to a story that he's going to tell us from when he was 24 years old. I've just started it. I've read one page. I've already highlighted something. I was worried I wouldn't highlight as much with the actual narrative. It's not like philosophy based, right? So I don't know how different it's going to be from the first part of the book. Cool. So, I lost my bookmark and I don't have any hands. Like I already said, this book reads super well. It's so well written. It's just, Dostoevsky writes in a way that's so easy to read, but it's like that stream of consciousness, very chill, flowy type of way he writes that, I don't know, I'm just like into it. I need to still grapple with what it is that makes him so readable to me. Like, same thing with Murakami. I love Murakami, he's my favorite author, and it's because Murakami writes in a way that it just flows. As I read the words, I'm just like, this just works. It works in my brain. It goes straight in there. Let's do it. I'm hoping I like the second part as much as I enjoyed the philosophy of the first half. It was very, very fun. I'm so happy I got a little bit of a philosophy moment. Yeah.
We should all go.
I would love to go. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll probably speed it up, yeah. That's it.
Yep.
The sun is like directly in my face. I cannot see a thing. So yes, I just wanted to wrap this up. I just wanted to tell you my very mixed thoughts on this Dostoevsky book that I've finished now. Such an interesting read, actually. So let me just find it in my pile of books that I've brought to my dad's. So notes from Underground, Dostoevsky. This book sort of blew me away, but also infuriated me at the same time. As I said in previous clips, like the first 30 or so pages where it's just philosophy, I really enjoyed that. I found it to be quite a surprise. Then I dived into this narrative that takes up majority of the book. And the first 80% of the narrative drove me insane. One of the worst reading experiences I've had with a classic. Just did not enjoy any moment of it, truly. And I thought it was just not worth my time at all. So I was going into the last 30 pages of this book just thinking, okay, this book has been completely ruined because I've been sitting here with this pointless narrative about this dude that just makes no sense, is annoying, is obsessed with himself, too narcissistic for his own good, a lack of self-awareness completely. I don't want to say too much about the actual narrative because I sort of want you to read this book, weirdly. Just to give you an idea of why I suffered, just because this main character is so unlikable, right? Then I go into the last 30 pages and all of a sudden he wakes up. He starts making sense. And I'm just like, wait a second, this guy's just had the biggest revelation about his own self and the narrative that he's been writing and presenting in this book, and about how useless it is in a weird way. One of my favorite quotes, I'll read it to you. After all, to tell a long story about how I missed life through decaying morally in a corner, not having sufficient means, losing the habit of living, and carefully cultivating my anger underground, really is not interesting. A novel needs a hero, but here all the features of an anti-hero have purposely been collected. And I love that. I love that he says that. It all connects once he says that. I actually don't really mind a story at all where you're not meant to like the main character. That's fine. But for this guy, his lack of self-awareness about himself was what pissed me off the most. So for him to come back around and to be like, actually, I'm aware that I'm a bit annoying, I was like, okay. Everything is forgiven. From page 145 through to 152, I put around, 10 tabs down this book because I was just eating it up at that point. He makes a complete 180 for me personally, and I just love the ending of this book so much. I sort of loved this book, and I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars because I gave Crime and Punishment a 4. I feel like that's a perfect rating for me to reread these books at a later time in my life and give them a higher rating. I feel like Dostoevsky, I'm starting to understand him even better with this read. Because with Crime and Punishment, the self-awareness of the main character came on a lot sooner. It came on way before the last 7 pages. And I really loved that about that book. But the problem with Crime and Punishment for me was that it was so slow still in the middle. This book, once again, the middle really dragged for me. And then the self-awareness comes in so late. So because of that, I don't like it as much as Crime and Punishment. It's interesting. I actually really am happy I read this book in the end. I thought it was going to go a completely different way. Before the last 20 pages, I was just like, I'm going to end this vlog by saying I hated this book. It was a 2 out of 5 stars. What is wrong with me and Dostoevsky? What is happening? This is bad. But yeah, I ended up loving the story of him when he's younger as well because of the revelations he has at the end. I actually really recommend it. I don't know if I would recommend it as a first read for Dostoevsky though. I'm happy I read Crime and Punishment first, even though Crime and Punishment was long. I've heard that White Nights, which is another short story by Dostoevsky, is really good. So I might go read that next, I'm thinking. And I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the book that I recommend to people as the book they should read as their first Dostoevsky. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed also following me along with this Notes from Underground. Moving forward, I thought I would just quickly mention like the books I'm probably reading after this. So I'm still reading Complex PTSD and The Three Musketeers, which I've mentioned in previous videos. At this point, I'm not enjoying this at all. It's going to get a very low rating, so it doesn't really matter. I think just Count of Monte Cristo is the one I should have read by Dumas. Whoopsie. And then this book I just pick up every now and again and read a few pages. So I'm on page 50 now. And then the other books I brought to my dad's, which I'll probably be reading over the next couple of weeks because I'm staying here for a couple of weeks. I want to read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and The Bell Jar. Both of these books are classics, and they are both books that I read as a teenager, and I want to give a reread this year. And I just feel like being at my dad's is the perfect time to reread some books. Before I move interstate, before I move away from my family, I want to read some stuff that's very familiar. And then I also have the 7th volume of Sandman by Neil Gaiman, which is like a comic series. A lot of mythology inspiration are in these comics. And I think this was released as an audiobook, like a sort of play audiobook, but also as a TV show recently. So a lot of adaptions for these comics. I started reading them before all the adaptions, but I took a break after finishing volume 6. It's been a couple years now, so I'm finally going to maybe get back into it this year, I'm thinking. So I've got the 7th volume on me, and this is just going to be a very easy read that I can pick up whenever I feel like it. Sandman being the light reading in my pile is not very convincing though. I think that's a little concerning. So yeah, that's like the books I'm going to be reading over the next few weeks. I probably won't be posting much about my reading, but I just wanted to let you know. You can always follow me over on Goodreads. I rate all the books that I read over there. I think I'm going to post a few more videos instead about my music because this channel hit 10,000 subscribers recently, and I think my reactions channel also hit 20,000 subscribers recently. So I'm going to be filming a few like special videos to commemorate those milestones. I'm thinking about 2 different videos. One of them is going to be with my dad and one's just by myself. I don't know which one will go up first to commemorate, but we'll see what pops up. But the next video should be, a celebration video, which will be really exciting. Yeah. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for 10,000 subscribers, but I'll do more of a big thank you in the next video. I will see you soon with a bit of celebration. Bye.